Captain Jake Morrison stared at the empty coffee cup in his hand. The space station felt quiet today. Too quiet. He walked to the big window that showed the stars beyond. Europa, Jupiter's moon, looked like a white ball covered in ice far below. Them, his ship, the horizon's edge, was the best that Earth had ever built. It could travel farther than any other ship and had the most advanced computers. Jake had been in space for 15 years. He loved it out here. The darkness, the silence, the way Earth looked like a tiny blue dot when you were far enough away. But today, something felt different. His crew was acting strange. Dr. Lisa Parker kept looking at her computer screen and frowning. She was the smartest person Jake knew when it came to alien life forms, even though they had never found any. "Captain," Lisa called from her station, "you need to see this." Jake floated over to her desk. In space, you could push yourself from wall to wall instead of walking. Lisa's screen showed lines of numbers and symbols that made no sense to him, but her face was pale and her hands were shaking. "What is it?" Jake asked. "I picked up a signal 3 hours ago. It's not from Earth. It's not from any human ship or station." Lisa's voice was barely above a whisper. "Jake, this is coming from another galaxy." Commander Alex Turner pushed himself over to them. Alex was a military man who had fought in the Mars Colony War. He was tough and smart, but right now he looked confused. "Another galaxy," Alex said. "That's impossible. Nothing can send a signal that far." "The signal is strong," Lisa said. "Very strong. Someone used a lot of power to send this message across space. Look at these numbers. This signal traveled for over 2 million years to reach us." Maya Rodriguez, the ship's engineer, joined them. She was young but knew more about machines than anyone Jake had ever met. "I've been checking our equipment," she said. "Everything is working perfectly. The signal is real." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "Can you understand the message?" Lisa nodded. "I've been working on it. The signal uses mathematics and pictures. Basic stuff that any smart species would understand, like counting numbers and showing the shape of atoms." She pressed a button, and the screen changed. Now, it showed pictures. Simple drawings that looked like stick figures, but clearly showing living beings. The creatures had 4 arms and 2 legs, just like humans, but different. "They call themselves the Cathari," Lisa said. "These pictures tell a story. They lived on a planet with 2 suns. They had cities and families and schools, just like us." "Lived?" Alex asked. "Past tense." Lisa's face got even paler. "Keep watching." The pictures changed. Now they showed dark shapes in space. The shapes looked like huge insects or spiders, bigger than any ship humans had ever built. The pictures showed these dark ships landing on the Cathari planet. "What happened next?" Jake asked, though he was afraid to know. "The dark ships started eating everything," Lisa said. "Not just the plants and animals. They ate the cities, the oceans, even the ground itself. The Cathari tried to fight back, but these things were too strong." Maya stared at the screen. "They ate the whole planet." "Look at this," Lisa said, changing the picture again. Now it showed the Cathari planet as an empty shell floating in space. Nothing left but rock and dust. The Cathari escaped in their ships, but most of their people died. The ones who got away sent this message to warn other species. Alex crossed his arms. "Warn them about what?" Lisa pressed another button. The screen filled with star maps. Jake recognized some of the patterns. These were real places in space that human scientists had mapped. "The Cathari called these creatures the Devourers," Lisa said. "They move from galaxy to galaxy, eating everything alive. When they finish with one galaxy, they move to the next one. And according to this message, they're coming here." Jake felt cold. "How long do we have?" "The message is old," Lisa said. "It was sent 50 years ago. but the Devourers move slowly between galaxies. Based on the star maps, they should arrive in our solar system in about 6 months. Maya shook her head. This has to be a mistake. Maybe the message is fake. I thought so too, Lisa said. But look at this. She showed them more pictures. These showed the Devourers' ships in detail. They looked like they were made of metal and living tissue at the same time. The Cathar knew things about biology and physics that we're just learning now. This isn't fake. Alex was quiet for a long moment. What else does the message say? The Cathari tried many ways to fight the Devourers, Lisa said. Most of their weapons didn't work, but they learned some things that might help. They're sharing everything they know. She showed them more pictures, battle plans, weapon designs, and ways to hide from the Devourers. But in every picture, the Cathari were losing. There's something else, Lisa said. The message ends with a warning. The Devourers can track radio signals across space. By sending this message, the Cathari led them straight to their hiding place. Jake felt his mouth go dry. And we just received that message, which means we sent a reply signal back when our computers confirmed we received it, Maya said. That's automatic. Every communication system does that. So they know we're here, Alex said. Lisa nodded. The Devourers follow the signals. They're probably already on their way. Jake stared out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, creatures that ate entire planets were heading toward Earth. Toward his home, his family, everyone he had ever known. We have to warn Earth, he said. I already sent a message to Earth Command, Lisa said. But Jake, look at the Cathari pictures again. They were more advanced than us. They had better weapons, better ships, better technology, and they still lost. Jake thought about his sister back on Earth. She had 2 kids who loved to hear his stories about space. He thought about all the people living their normal lives, not knowing that death was coming from the stars. Maybe we can do better than the Cathari, he said. Maybe humans can find a way to stop them. Alex laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. With what? We barely have enough ships to defend one planet. These things destroyed an entire galaxy. We have something the Cathari didn't, Jake said. We have their warning. We know they're coming. We can prepare. Maya was studying the technical pictures. Some of these weapon designs might work, if we can build them in time. How long did it take the Devourers to eat the Cathari galaxy? Jake asked. Lisa checked her computer. About 200 years. But they started small, and grew stronger as they ate more planets. By the time they reached the main Cathari worlds, they were unstoppable. Then we hit them early, Alex said. Before they get strong. Jake made his decision. Maya, I want you to copy everything from this message. Every picture, every number, every piece of information. We're going back to Earth right now. What about our mission here? Maya asked. Jake looked at Europa spinning below them. The ice moon looked so peaceful. In 6 months, it might be nothing but dust floating in space. Our mission just changed, he said. We're going to save the human race. As the horizon's edge prepared to leave Jupiter's orbit, Jake took one last look at the stars. They looked different now. Not peaceful and beautiful, but full of danger. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were coming. And humanity had 6 months to get ready for the fight of their lives. Admiral Kate Sullivan did not believe in aliens. She had been running Earth's space defense for 20 years. And in all that time, she had never seen proof of life beyond Earth. So when Captain Morrison's message arrived at Earth Command, she almost deleted it without reading it. Ma'am, said Lieutenant Pete Davis, her assistant. You really need to look at this. Kate was tired. She had been working 18-hour days trying to keep peace between Earth's colonies on Mars and the asteroid belt. The last thing she needed was another false alarm about aliens. Let me guess, she said. Someone found radio signals from space. It's not radio signals, Pete said. It's a complete message from another galaxy. Captain Morrison sent all the data. The computer analysis confirms it's real. Kate looked at the young officer. Pete was smart and careful. He wouldn't waste her time with nonsense. She opened the file on her computer and started reading. 20 minutes later, she was calling. An emergency meeting. Dr. Ben Carter arrived first. He was Earth's best physicist, a thin man with gray hair who understood space and time better than anyone else. Colonel Ryan Brooks came next, leading Earth's military defense programs. Then came the heads of the Mars colonies, the asteroid miners, and the moon bases. Before we start, Kate said, everything we discuss here is classified. If word gets out before we're ready, it could cause panic. She showed them the Cathari message. The room was silent as they watched the pictures of planets being eaten by giant alien ships. This is impossible, said Dr. Carter. Nothing can travel between galaxies in just 6 months. The Devourers don't travel the normal way, Kate said. According to this message, they can bend space around their ships. They move faster than light. Colonel Brooks studied the pictures of the alien ships. How big are these things? Each ship is about the size of a city, Kate said. And they travel in groups of hundreds. How many are coming? Asked Maria Santos, the leader of the Mars colonies. Kate felt sick as she gave the answer. The Cathari message shows over 5,000 ships heading toward our galaxy. But that was 50 years ago. There might be more now. The room was quiet. Everyone was thinking the same thing. Earth had about 200 military ships, and most of them were designed to fight other human ships, not alien monsters. What do we know about their weapons? Colonel Brooks asked. Kate showed them more pictures from the Cathari message. They don't use lasers or missiles like we do. They use something called bioplasma. It dissolves matter at the atomic level. They can eat through ship armor like acid through paper. Dr. Carter leaned forward. What about their defenses? Their ships are partly alive, Kate said. They can heal damage almost instantly. The Cathari tried nuclear weapons, but the alien ships absorbed the radiation and got stronger. So we can't hurt them, said Brooks. The Cathari found a few things that worked, Kate said, but not enough to save their people. She showed them the Cathari weapon designs, strange-looking guns that used electricity and magnetism to disrupt the aliens' bioplasma, plans for ships that could hide from alien sensors, and most important, instructions for something called a frequency disruptor. The Cathari discovered that all the Devourers are connected, Kate said. They share one big mind across all their ships. If you can disrupt that connection, they become confused and weak. How do we build these weapons? Asked Dr. Carter. We'll need to convert every factory on Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt, Kate said. We'll need every scientist, every engineer, every worker. And we'll need to do it in 6 months. Maria. Santos shook her head. The colonies won't agree to this. They'll think it's a trick to get them to give up their independence. Then we'll make them agree, Colonel Brooks said. This isn't about politics anymore. This is about survival. Kate stood up. I'm declaring a state of emergency. All colonies are now under military control. Every resource, every person, everything we have will be used to prepare for this attack. What about the people? Asked Dr. Carter. Do we tell them? Not yet, Kate said. We need to start building defenses first. If we tell people that planet-eating aliens are coming, there will be riots. Over the next few weeks, strange things began happening all over the solar system. Factories that made cars and computers suddenly started making weapons. Scientists who studied medicine were reassigned to work on alien technology. Military bases that had been closed for years were reopened and expanded. Tony Lopez worked at a shipyard on Mars. He had been building cargo ships for 15 years, but suddenly his boss told him to start adding armor plating to everything. Why do we need armor on cargo ships? Tony asked. New regulations, his boss said. Just do the work. Tony and his crew worked day and night, welding thick metal plates to ships that were never meant for battle. They installed weapon mounts and shield generators. It was strange work, but the pay was good. Amy Watson lived on a farm in the asteroid belt. She grew food for the mining colonies, living in a small dome with her husband and 2 kids. Life was hard but peaceful. Then the soldiers came. "Ma'am, you need to pack your family and come with us," said the officer in charge. "Why?" Amy asked. "We haven't done anything wrong. It's for your safety," the officer said. "We're moving all civilians from the outer colonies to safer locations." Amy didn't understand. The asteroid belt was the safest place in the solar system. No wars, no crime, just honest people working hard. But the soldiers wouldn't explain anything. Helen Grant was a diplomat who worked to keep peace between Earth's different nations. She had spent years trying to get countries to cooperate on space projects. Now, suddenly, everyone wanted to work together. "This is unusual," she told her assistant. "Yesterday, China and America were arguing about moon mining rights. Today, they're sharing their military technology. Maybe they finally realized cooperation is better than conflict," her assistant said. Helen wasn't convinced. Something big was happening, and the governments weren't telling their people. Dr. Carter worked in a secret lab under the Rocky Mountains. He had been given the Cathari weapon plans and told to build them as fast as possible. The technology was incredible, but also terrifying. "These frequency disruptors," he told his team. "They work by overloading the aliens' shared mind, but the power requirements are enormous. We'd need to detonate every nuclear weapon on Earth at the same time." "What about the other weapons?" asked his assistant. "The electromagnetic pulse guns might work," Dr. Carter said, "but we'd need thousands of them. And the Cathari plans show they only slow the aliens down. They don't stop them." He stared at the alien technology. The Cathari had been desperate when they designed these weapons. They had known they were going to lose, but they had kept fighting anyway. Colonel Brooks was coordinating the defense of Mars. The Red Planet had the best military bases in the solar system, but they were designed to fight human enemies, not alien monsters. "How many ships can we get ready?" he asked his staff. "About 300 combat-ready vessels," replied Major Kimley. "But that's including cargo ships with armor plating, and the aliens. Intelligence estimates 5,000 ships, each one bigger and stronger than anything we have." Brooks did the math. Even if every human ship destroyed 10 alien ships, they would still lose, but he kept working anyway. The alternative was giving up, and soldiers never gave up. As the weeks passed, more people began to notice the changes. Workers asked questions about the strange new weapons they were building. Families wondered why their relatives were being moved to underground shelters. Scientists shared rumors about alien technology. Kate knew she couldn't keep the secret much longer. Soon someone would figure out what was happening and tell the world. She needed to be ready when that happened. She called another meeting with the colony leaders. "We need to tell people," she said. "But we need to do it carefully. We don't want panic." "How do you carefully tell people that aliens are coming to eat their planet?" asked Maria Santos. "We tell them we have a plan," Kate said. "We show them the weapons we're building. We give them hope." "Do we have hope?" asked Dr. Carter. Kate looked at the room full of worried faces. These were the smartest, bravest people in the solar system. If they were scared, what chance did everyone else have? "We have what the Cathari didn't," she said. "We have their warning. We know the aliens are coming. We can prepare." "The Cathari prepared too," Colonel Brooks said. "They still lost." Kate nodded. "But they lasted 200 years. Maybe we can last longer. Maybe we can find something they missed." She didn't believe it, but she had to say it. Leaders couldn't show doubt, even when the odds were impossible. That night, Kate stood on the observation deck of Earth Command, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were coming. In a few months, they would reach the solar system and begin their terrible work. But humanity would be ready. They had to be. There was no other choice. The first alien ship appeared near Pluto on a Tuesday morning. Lieutenant Sam Wright was flying patrol in the newest fighter Earth had ever built when his sensors picked up something massive moving in the dark. "Control, this is Patrol 7, Sam said into his radio. "I've got a contact near Pluto. It's big." "Define big." "Patrol 7, came the reply from Earth Command. Sam looked at his screen. The numbers didn't make sense. "Control, this thing is 20 kilometers long. That's bigger than a city." "Confirmed, Patrol 7. We see it too. All units, this is not a drill. The aliens are here." Sam had been training for this moment for 3 months, ever since the government finally told everyone about but seeing the alien ship on his screen made his hands shake. It looked like a giant bug made of metal and flesh, floating in space like a nightmare come to life. "Orders, Control, maintain distance, do not engage. We need to see what they do first." Sam watched as the alien ship moved toward Neptune. It was slow but steady, like a predator that knew its prey couldn't escape. Other human ships were moving into position around the solar system. The big battle would come soon. Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, now armed with the best weapons Earth could build. His ship was part of the first contact team, ordered to try talking to the aliens before the shooting started. "Any response to our messages?" he asked Lisa Parker. Lisa shook her head. "Nothing. We've tried every frequency, every language, even mathematical signals. They're not answering." "Maybe they don't want to talk," said Alex Turner. He was studying the alien ship through the telescope. "Look at this thing. It's not just a ship. Parts of it are alive." Morrison looked at the screen. The alien vessel had sections that pulsed like a heartbeat. Other parts moved like muscles under skin. It was beautiful and horrible at the same time. "New contact," Maya Rodriguez called from her station. 3 more ships just appeared behind the first one. Morrison felt his heart sink. If this was just the advance guard, how many more were coming? "Captain," Lisa said, "I'm picking up some kind of signal from the alien ships. Not directed at us, but they're communicating with each other." "Can you understand it?" "It's not like any language I've ever heard, but the patterns are similar to brainwaves. I think they're sharing thoughts directly." Morrison remembered the Cathari message. The aliens had a shared mind across all their ships. That made them incredibly dangerous, but it might also be their weakness. "Keep monitoring," he said, "and get ready. I think the talking is about to end." He was right. The alien ship near Neptune suddenly changed course, heading directly for the planet. Within hours, it had reached Neptune's largest moon, Triton. What happened next was recorded by dozens of human cameras and would be studied for years to come. The alien ship extended thousands of tentacles toward Triton's surface. Where the tentacles touched, the moon began to dissolve. "They're eating it," Lisa whispered. The process was horrible to watch. The alien ship was literally consuming Triton, breaking it down into energy and raw materials. Within 6 hours, the moon was gone, and the alien ship was noticeably larger. "All units, this is Admiral Sullivan," came the voice over the radio. "The aliens have made the first move. We are now at war. Execute Plan Alpha." Plan Alpha was humanity's desperate attempt to stop the aliens before they got stronger. Every ship in the solar system would attack at once. Using the new weapons based on Cathari technology, Sam Wright's fighter was one of the first to engage. His ship was armed with electromagnetic pulse weapons that the Cathari had designed. The theory was that the EMP would disrupt the aliens' bioplasma systems. "This is Alpha Squadron," Sam said into his radio. "Beginning attack run." He fired his new weapons at the alien ship. The electromagnetic pulses hit the creature's hull and sparked across its surface. For a moment, Sam thought it had worked. The alien ship seemed to slow down, then it fired back. The alien weapon was nothing like human lasers or missiles. It was a stream of living energy that moved like a snake through space. When it hit Sam's fighter, the ship's armor began to dissolve. "I'm hit," Sam shouted. "The ship is coming apart." He managed to eject before his fighter was completely destroyed. His escape pod tumbled through space, while the battle raged round him. Morrison watched the fight from the horizon's edge. The human ships were brave, but they were outmatched. The alien weapons ate through their armor like it was paper. The few hits the humans scored seemed to heal almost instantly. "We need to try the frequency disruptor," Morrison said. "It's not ready," Maya replied. "We need more power than one ship can generate." "Then we'll have to get closer," Morrison said. "If we can plant the disruptor directly on their ship, maybe it will work." It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. But Morrison had been thinking about his sister's kids back on Earth. If humanity lost this battle, those children would never grow up. "Take us in," he ordered. The horizon's edge dove toward the alien ship, dodging streams of bioplasma and tentacles that tried to grab them. Morrison's crew worked frantically to prepare the frequency disruptor, a device that looked like a large bomb but was actually a complex computer. 30 seconds to target, Alex called out. The alien ship had noticed them now. Dozens of tentacles reached toward the horizon's edge. One of them wrapped around the ship's engine, and Morrison felt the deck shake as the aliens tried to pull them in. "Now," Morrison shouted. Maya launched the frequency disruptor. It stuck to the alien ship's hull and activated immediately. The device sent out powerful radio waves designed to overload the alien's shared mind. For a moment, it worked. The alien ship stopped moving. Its tentacles went limp. The attacks on the human ships paused. Then the alien ship began to change. Its surface rippled like water. New structures grew from its hull. Within minutes, it had adapted to the frequency disruptor and was immune to its effects. "It's learning," Lisa said in horror. "They can adapt to our weapons in real time." The alien ship resumed its attack, but now it was different. It had studied the human weapons and knew exactly how to defend against them. The battle turned into a massacre. "All ships, retreat," Admiral Sullivan ordered. "Fall back to Mars." The human fleet fled toward the inner solar system, leaving the aliens to continue their feast. More alien ships arrived over the next few days, and they began systematically consuming the outer planets. Jupiter's moons disappeared one by one. Saturn's rings were devoured like cosmic soup. Colonel Brooks stood in the command center on Mars, watching the reports come in. The first battle had been a disaster. Humanity had lost over half their ships, and the aliens had only grown stronger. "How many are there now?" he asked. "Sensors show over 200 ships," replied Major Lee, "and more arriving every day." Brooks studied the tactical display. The aliens were taking their time, eating everything in the outer solar system before moving inward. They were in no hurry because they knew humanity couldn't stop them. "What about the other weapons?" Brooks asked. "The electromagnetic pulse guns slow them down, but don't stop them," Lee said. "The plasma cannons are useless. The nuclear mines worked once, but now the aliens just absorbed the radiation." Brooks nodded. "Every weapon humanity tried worked for a few minutes. Then the aliens adapted. They were fighting an enemy that learned from every attack." "Sir," said a communications officer, "we're getting reports from the outer colonies. The aliens aren't just eating planets. They're taking people." Brooks felt cold. "What do you mean?" "Survivor reports from the Europa Research Station. The aliens didn't just destroy the base. They captured the scientists and took them alive onto their ships." The room was quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. The aliens weren't just consuming matter for energy. They were studying humanity, learning how humans thought and fought. "They're getting smarter," Brooks said. "Every person they capture, every ship they destroy, teaches them more about us. Dr. Carter's voice came over the intercom. Colonel, I need to speak with you. We've discovered something about the alien ships. Brooks went to the science lab, where Carter was studying data from the battle. The aliens aren't just one species, Carter said. Look at these scans. Each ship is different. Some parts look like insect technology, other parts look like machine designs, and some sections appear to be made from materials we don't recognize. What does that mean? It means the Devourers aren't just eating planets, Carter said. They're absorbing other civilizations. Every species they encounter becomes part of them. They're not just destroyers, they're collectors. Brooks stared at the data. The aliens weren't just monsters. They were a living museum of every species they had ever defeated, and soon, humanity would be just another exhibit in their collection. How long until they reach Mars? Brooks asked. At their current rate, about 2 weeks, Carter said. But Brooks, there's something else. The frequency disruptor didn't fail completely. For those few minutes, we disrupted their shared mind. They were vulnerable, but they adapted. Yes, but maybe we can do it again. If we can build a bigger disruptor, something powerful enough to affect all their ships at once. ... Brooks looked at him. How big? We'd need to detonate every nuclear weapon on Earth simultaneously, Carter said. The explosion would generate enough electromagnetic energy to disrupt their entire fleet, and Earth. Carter was quiet for a moment. Earth would be destroyed, but the aliens would be stopped. Brooks understood. Humanity's only hope was to sacrifice their home planet to save the rest of the galaxy. It was a terrible choice, but it might be the only choice they had. The war was just beginning, and humanity was already planning to destroy itself, to win. The defense of Mars lasted 6 days. Colonel Brooks had prepared every weapon humanity could build, placed every ship in the perfect position, and trained every soldier for this moment. But the aliens were too strong. Amy Watson crouched in a bunker, carved deep into the Martian rock. She held her 2 children close as the ground shook from alien weapons hitting the surface above. Her husband had been killed in the first day of fighting, along with thousands of other defenders. Mom, are we going to die? Asked her daughter, Jenny. Amy wanted to lie, to tell her that everything would be fine. But the sounds of battle were getting closer, and she could hear the human weapons, falling silent one by one. I don't know, sweetheart, Amy said, but we're going to stay together no matter what. Above them, the last human ships were making their final attack. Sam Wright had been given a new fighter after his first one was destroyed. This one was different, built from salvaged alien technology that Dr. Carter's team had managed to study. This is Revenge Squadron, Sam said into his radio. We're going in. The hybrid ships were faster than anything humans had built before, but they were also unstable. The alien technology didn't work well with human systems. Sam's fighter shook and sparked as he flew toward the massive alien mothership. The aliens had grown stronger since the first battle. Their ships were now the size of small moons, and they moved with purpose. They had learned human tactics, and could predict every move the defenders made. Sam fired his weapons at the alien ship, knowing it was useless. The electromagnetic pulses that had worked in the first battle were now absorbed harmlessly by the alien hull. They had adapted to everything humanity could throw at them. All units, this is Admiral Sullivan, came the voice over the radio. Execute Plan Omega. Sam felt his heart stop. Plan Omega was the final option, the one they had hoped never to use. It meant that Admiral Sullivan had given up on winning the battle. Now they were just trying to buy time. Captain Morrison was already implementing Plan Omega aboard the Horizon's Edge. The plan was simple and terrible. Fly directly into the alien mothership and detonate the ship's nuclear reactor. It wouldn't destroy the aliens, but it might disrupt them long enough for more humans to escape. Are you sure about this? Lisa Parker asked. She was strapped into her seat, her face pale, but determined. "It's the only way," Morrison said. "If we don't slow them down, they'll reach Earth in days instead of weeks." Maya Rodriguez was working frantically at her station. "I'm rigging the reactor to overload. When we get close enough, I'll trigger the explosion." Alex Turner was coordinating, with the other ships making the same sacrifice. 12 ships are ready for suicide runs. We'll hit them from all sides. Morrison looked at his crew. These people had become his family over the years. They were choosing to die so that others might live a little longer. "It's been an honor serving with you," he said. The Horizon's edge accelerated toward the alien mothership. The massive creature tried to grab them with its tentacles, but Morrison's ship was too fast. They crashed through the alien hull and into the ship's interior. What they found inside was worse than anything they had imagined. The alien ship wasn't just a vessel, it was a living city. Corridors made of flesh and metal stretched in every direction. Strange lights pulsed like arteries carrying blood, and everywhere, Morrison saw the remains of other civilizations. Ships from dozens of different species were embedded in the walls, their crews long dead. The aliens had been collecting trophies from every world they had conquered. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to a section of the wall. "Those are Cathari symbols." The aliens kept part of their ships as decorations. Morrison felt sick. The Devourers weren't just eating civilizations, they were preserving them like insects in amber, keeping the memory of their victims alive forever. "Reactor overload in 30 seconds, Maya announced. Morrison made his final decision. "Lisa, start recording everything. If we're going to die, at least we can send information about the inside of their ships." Lisa activated the ship's cameras and began transmitting data to Earth. The recording showed the alien ship's interior, its biological systems, and most importantly, its weaknesses. "There," Morrison said, pointing to a massive structure in the center of the ship. "That looks like a brain. If we can hit that." The explosion tore through the alien ship like a miniature sun. Morrison and his crew were vaporized instantly, but their sacrifice worked. The alien mothership shuddered and began to list to one side. For the first time since the war began, the humans had seriously damaged one of the alien vessels, but there were hundreds more where that came from. Dr. Carter received Morrison's final transmission at his secret laboratory on Earth. The data showed him things about the alien ships that no human had ever seen. Most importantly, it showed him how to hurt them. "The brain structure," he told his team. "It's not just for one ship. It's connected to all of them. That's how they share information so quickly." "Can we use that against them?" asked his assistant. Carter was already working on the problem. "If we can overload one brain, the feedback might disrupt the others. But we'd need to get inside another ship to do it." "That's impossible. The aliens won't let us get close again." Carter smiled grimly. "Not if we use volunteers who don't plan to come back." Meanwhile, the alien fleet was recovering from the human attacks. The damaged mothership was healing itself, growing new sections to replace what had been destroyed. But the aliens had learned something new. Humans were willing to die to stop them. This information spread through the alien collective, mind-changing their strategy. Instead of just eating planets, they began specifically hunting for humans. They wanted to understand this species that chose death over surrender. Admiral Sullivan watched the tactical display from her command center deep inside the moon. Mars had fallen, and the aliens were now consuming the asteroid belt. Soon, they would reach Earth. "How many ships do we have left?" she asked. 57 combat-ready vessels," replied her aide. "But Admiral, we're getting reports from all over the solar system. The aliens are capturing humans alive and taking them onto their ships." Sullivan felt cold. For what purpose? Unknown. But the pattern is clear. They're not just killing us. They're studying us. Sullivan understood. The aliens had realized that humans were different from other species they had encountered. Most civilizations probably surrendered or fled when faced with but humans kept fighting, even when they knew they couldn't win. They want to know what makes us different, she said. Should we warn the remaining colonies? Sullivan thought about it. If the aliens were capturing humans for study, then maybe there was still hope. As long as some humans remained alive, even as prisoners, the species might survive. Send a message to all remaining outposts, she said. Tell them to prepare for evacuation, but also tell them to prepare for capture. If the aliens take them alive, they should cooperate and try to learn as much as possible about alien technology. It was a desperate plan, but it was better than nothing. Maybe human prisoners could find a way to escape and share what they had learned. Tony Lopez was one of the humans captured when the aliens took the Mars shipyard. He found himself in a cell made of living metal, surrounded by other prisoners from different species. Most of them were dead, but a few were still alive. How long have you been here? Tony asked an alien creature that looked like a giant butterfly. Time has no meaning here, the creature replied in broken human language. The devourers study us, then preserve us. We are exhibits in their collection. Tony looked around the cell. The walls were covered with screens showing different worlds being consumed. The aliens were showing them the fate of their civilizations. Why keep us alive? Tony asked. Because we are the last, the butterfly creature said. The final survivors of our worlds. The devourers want to understand how we think, how we feel about losing everything we love. Tony felt a chill. The aliens weren't just eating planets for energy. They were feeding on the despair of their victims. The more a species suffered, the more the devourers enjoyed their conquest. But Tony was human, and humans were stubborn. Instead of despair, he felt anger. These creatures had killed his friends, destroyed his home, and now they wanted to feed on his pain. Well, they're going to be disappointed, he said. I'm not giving them the satisfaction. The butterfly creature looked at him with something that might have been respect. Your species is unusual. Most of us accepted our fate. But you still have hope. Hope is what makes us human, Tony said. And as long as we have hope, we haven't lost. Back on Earth, Dr. Carter was preparing the final weapon. Using the data from Morrison's sacrifice, he had designed a new type of frequency disruptor. This one was different. Instead of trying to disrupt the aliens' shared mind, it would try to join it. If we can connect to their network, he explained. To Admiral Sullivan, we might be able to upload a virus directly into their collective consciousness. What kind of virus? Something uniquely human, Carter said. The one thing the aliens can't adapt to because they've never encountered it before. Sullivan looked at the device Carter had built. It was smaller than the previous disruptors, but somehow more complex. What exactly are you going to upload? Carter smiled. The story of humanity. Every piece of art, every song, every poem we've ever created. Every act of love and sacrifice and hope. The aliens feed on despair, but humans create beauty even in the darkest times. That's our weapon. It was a wild plan, but it was the only one they had. The aliens had adapted to every physical weapon humanity possessed. Maybe they could be defeated with something they had never encountered, the human spirit. How do we deliver? Sullivan asked. We need volunteers, Carter said. People willing to let the aliens capture them and carry the virus into their ships. Sullivan nodded. It was another suicide mission, but that seemed to be humanity's specialty. I'll go, she said. Admiral, you're too important. I'm the best choice, Sullivan said. I know the plan better than anyone, and I'm old enough that I won't be missed for long. Carter wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. The mission required someone who could think clearly under pressure, and who understood the technology. There's one more thing, Carter said. The virus will take time to spread through their network. Whoever carries it will need to stay alive, long enough for it to work. Sullivan understood. She would be a prisoner on an alien ship, surrounded by creatures that wanted to study her despair. She would need to stay strong and hopeful long enough for the virus to destroy them from within. How long? She asked. Maybe days, maybe weeks. There's no way to know. Sullivan looked out the window at Earth, beautiful and blue in the darkness of space. In a few days, the aliens would arrive, and the final battle would begin. Then we'd better get started, she said. Admiral Sullivan let herself be captured on purpose. She flew her ship directly into the alien fleet, with the virus hidden in her neural implant. The aliens took her prisoner, just as she had hoped they would. The alien ship was even more horrible than Morrison's recordings had shown. The walls were alive and pulsing, and the air smelled like decay and metal. But Sullivan forced herself to stay calm. She had a job to do. The aliens brought her to a large chamber filled with prisoners from dozens of different species. Some were recent captures, still alive and frightened. Others had been there for years, their minds broken by the constant study and experimentation. Another human, said a voice. Sullivan turned to see Tony Lopez, the shipyard worker from Mars. He looked thin and tired, but his eyes were still alert. How long have you been here? Sullivan asked. 3 weeks, Tony said. They run tests on us every day. They want to understand how we think, how we feel, fear and pain. Sullivan looked around the chamber. She saw creatures from the Cathari homeworld, survivors from dozens of other civilizations. All of them were the last of their kind, preserved by the aliens like specimens in a museum. Have you learned anything about their technology? She asked quietly. Tony nodded. The walls are alive. They're connected to the ship's brain. Everything we say and do is recorded and analyzed. But I've noticed something. The aliens don't understand certain human concepts. Like what? Friendship, love, sacrifice. They can measure our brain patterns when we feel these emotions, but they can't understand why we have them. Sullivan smiled. Dr. Carter had been right. The aliens could adapt to any weapon, but they couldn't adapt to the human heart. Over the next few days, Sullivan observed the aliens' routine. They studied their prisoners constantly, taking blood samples, running brain scans, and recording everything. But they always seemed frustrated by human behavior. The aliens couldn't understand why humans helped each other, even when there was no benefit. They couldn't comprehend why humans would sacrifice themselves for strangers. And they were completely baffled by human creativity. The way people could create art and music and poetry, even in the worst situations. They're trying to solve us like a puzzle, Tony said during one of their conversations. But we're not a puzzle. We're just human. Sullivan felt the virus activating in her neural implant. Dr. Carter had designed it to spread slowly, mimicking the way the aliens shared information. She began telling stories to the other prisoners, sharing human history and culture. She told them about the first humans who looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. She described the artists who painted beautiful pictures in dark caves. She recited poems about love and loss and hope. The aliens recorded everything, just as she had hoped. Every story, every song, every expression of human creativity was being absorbed into their collective consciousness. But something else was happening too. The other prisoners, hearing Sullivan's stories, began to remember their own cultures. The butterfly creature from the outer rim told ancient legends of his people. A rock-like being from the galactic core hummed songs that had been old when Earth was young. The aliens became more frustrated. They had expected their prisoners to despair, to give up hope. Instead, the humans were inspiring the other captives to celebrate their lost civilizations. On Earth, Amy Watson was leading the final evacuation. She had survived the fall of Mars and made it back to Earth with her children. Now she was helping to coordinate the last desperate plan. All civilians to the underground shelters, she announced over the radio. The aliens will be here in hours. But not everyone was going to hide. Sam Wright and the remaining pilots were preparing for one last battle. They knew they couldn't win, but they could buy time for the evacuation. "This is it," Sam said to his squadron. "We're not going to stop them, but we're going to make them work for it." The hybrid fighters, built from salvaged alien technology, were humanity's last hope. They were faster and more maneuverable than anything humans had built before, but they were also unstable and dangerous to fly. As the alien fleet approached Earth, Sam led his squadron into battle. The fight was fierce but brief. The aliens had learned from every previous encounter, and they were ready for everything humanity could throw at them. But the humans had learned too. They knew they couldn't win through strength, so they focused on one goal: getting close enough to the alien mothership to establish a communication link. Sam's fighter was the only one to reach the target. His ship was badly damaged, his life support failing, but he managed to connect to the alien network for just a few seconds. It was enough. The virus that Sullivan had been carrying suddenly had a direct path into the alien collective consciousness. Every story, every song, every piece of human creativity flooded into their shared mind. The aliens had never experienced anything like it. They were used to fear and despair, emotions they could understand and feed upon. But human creativity was something entirely different. The virus didn't destroy the aliens' minds. Instead, it showed them what they had been missing. For the first time in their existence, the Devourers understood beauty. They saw the courage of humans who fought impossible odds. They felt the love of parents protecting their children. They experienced the joy of creating something new and wonderful. The alien fleet stopped moving on the mothership. Sullivan felt the change immediately. The walls around her began to shift and change. The constant background noise of the alien collective mind became quieter, more thoughtful. "What's happening?" Tony asked. Before Sullivan could answer, one of the alien creatures entered the chamber. It was different from the others, smaller, less intimidating. When it spoke, its voice was gentle. We did not understand," it said. "We thought all species were like us. We thought survival was the only purpose." Sullivan stepped forward. "And now we see there is more. Your species creates meaning from suffering. You find hope in darkness. You choose to help others, even when it costs you everything." The alien creature seemed to be struggling with concepts it had never encountered before. "We have been wrong. We have destroyed countless worlds, seeking only to survive. But you have shown us that survival without purpose is meaningless." Over the next few hours, the alien fleet began to change. The massive ships that had been designed only for destruction started to repair the damage they had caused. They began reconstructing the planets they had consumed, using the stored matter to rebuild entire worlds. The aliens released all their prisoners, offering to return them to their homeworlds. But many of the worlds were gone, so the aliens began creating new ones, using their vast technology to give the survivors new places to live. "We cannot undo what we have done," the alien leader told Sullivan, "but we can choose to do better." Sullivan understood. The aliens had been changed by their exposure to human creativity and compassion. They were no longer they were something new. But there was still one more thing to do. Dr. Carter had built the transmission array in secret, hidden in the deepest bunkers on Earth. It was powerful enough to send a message to distant galaxies, warning other civilizations about the DEVOURERS. But now the message would be different. Amy Watson stood before the transmission array, her children beside her. She had been chosen to send the final message because she represented what was best about humanity, Mother, who had never given up hope, even in the darkest times. "This is Amy Watson of Earth," she said into the microphone. "We are sending this message to any civilization that might receive it. We want to tell you about the Devourers, the aliens who eat planets and consume civilizations." She paused, thinking about all the people who had died in the war, all the sacrifices that had been made. "We want to tell you that they can be stopped. Not with weapons or force, but with something else." They can be stopped with stories, with art, with music and poetry and love, with everything that makes life worth living. Amy looked at her children, thinking about the future they would have now that the war was over. The devourers thought they were the ultimate predators, but they were wrong. They had never encountered a species that could create beauty from suffering, that could find meaning in sacrifice, that could choose hope over despair. She smiled, thinking about all the brave people who had died to make this moment possible. We are humans, and we never give up. We never stop fighting for what we believe in, and we never stop creating beauty, even in the darkest times. That is our strength. That is our weapon. That is what saved us. The transmission went out across the galaxy, carrying the story of humanity's war with the devourers. It told of the courage of people like Morrison and Sullivan, the determination of people like Amy and Sam, and the ingenuity of people like Carter and Maya. But most importantly, it told other civilizations that there was always hope, that even the most terrible enemy could be defeated, not through violence, but through the power of the human spirit. The message would travel for millions of years, reaching distant galaxies long after Earth itself was gone. But wherever it went, it would carry the same truth, that consciousness and creativity were more powerful than any weapon, and that the will to create beauty was stronger than the desire to destroy. The war was over. Humanity had won not by destroying their enemies, but by changing them, and in the process, they had sent a message to the universe that would echo for eternity. The final transmission wasn't a plea for help. It wasn't a cry of despair. It was a warning to any civilization that might face the same threat, that the greatest weapon in the universe was the power to create meaning from suffering, to find hope in darkness, and to choose love over fear. It was a message that could only come from humanity, and it would ensure that no other species would ever face the devourers alone.